to appreciate and value our money, then first we have to let go of old ideas around money.
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, hello. Welcome to the 100th show, the 100th Money and You show. Woo! So excited about that. And Tony, we've done it. We reached 100. So that is super exciting. I want to thank UBN Go for getting me to this point. There was actually a couple of years of the Limit Free Life show before this even. And so we've been together a little while now, and it's been a great time here. So thank you to Tony and all your great people. And I'm super thrilled that we've reached this little milestone, and we're going to make some, we're going to look at it like a milestone and add some more things to the show. So I'd love for you to share it, let people know about it. This is a great way to educate yourself around money and finance and life and your relationship with money primarily, which is that piece of it that you're not actually going to hear about from your accountant and your financial advisor, but that is impacting everything that you're doing with respect to your money. That emotional, psychological piece that is really driving all of your decision making. And so once you get that organized and in the right direction, all the practical things will be easier to actually do, which is the only way they change anything in your life. So stick with us here. We're going to make this show even better. And we're going to be entertaining your questions. Every show, my new plan after this is to start taking questions and at least answering one of them on each show. So send me your questions. Michelle@limitfreelife.com. I want to hear, specifically what you're needing to know to maybe improve that relationship or to take some action. So with that said, we're going to move on because I have a very special guest. It was a planned show for the 100th show. Hopefully I'll be able to talk during the show. And it was with somebody very special because she is an expert in a very unique area. I'm going to read you her bio right now, and then you'll understand. Dr. Ariana Platten is an international speaker, author, and courage builder. She helps people find their purpose and live into it. She's a master ceremonialist and practical mystic, widely appreciated for her authenticity and her professional insights and her coaching on the process of change. Find more about Ariana at asoulfulworld.com. Welcome, Ariana.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. I just thought that you were such a special person to have on this show because today we're not going to talk about what you should invest in or, how you should manage your debt. We're going to talk about what I think is so important, which is how you interact with your money, how you treat it, how you operate, with it. And because of what you do, I think people can get a better sense of how they can connect with their money in a more spiritual way, with some rituals, with some beautiful experiences with money. Because anytime we have beautiful experiences with anything or any person, it builds that relationship. And so we're gonna jump in. I really want you to tell people a little about your background and why you're so qualified to have this conversation.
Well, it's such an interesting thing to talk about money anyway. And when you combine money and spirituality, sometimes people are a little flabbergasted that those two things go together. In fact, I have a background in ministry and a background in business. And so I'm a little bit of an anomaly myself because those two things. I spent 21 years in international business and nearly the same amount of time working in interfaith ministry across a wide variety of faiths and then leading individual congregations. And this idea that money is a sacred journey is one that I feel really strongly about.
Yeah, thank you. And I do think it's a sacred journey as well. And I think treating that relationship in that way, first acknowledging that you have a relationship with money, and then learning how to, have a good relationship with money. And I think how we spend time with our money is so important. And I do this money dating program where I take people on a variety of money dates to help you get to know yourself and your money and how to think about it and what to do with it. In that, I do recommend having moments that are celebratory, or they are ritualistic, and trying to create that, even if it's something as simple as lighting a candle and having a cup of tea in your favorite mug when you sit down to do your bills, for example. But you can take this so much deeper than I can. And will you tell people about your book? Because I'm really enjoying your book.
Sure, absolutely. This book is called Rites and Rituals, Harnessing the Power of Sacred Ceremony. And it's a book that gives you foundational ideas about what sacred ceremony might be, about how you can use sacred ceremony, and about what the experience of ceremony is. There are included in this book 20 different authors, in addition to myself, who speak very vulnerably and very candidly about how rites and rituals have changed their lives. And these are not, there's some woo-woo kind of stories in there, but the majority of these stories are very practical and real stories, stories about how people move through some of the most challenging times in life, through times of addiction, through times of abuse, through times of divorce, through raising their children, through kind of managing their day-to-day life in a way that changes the overall feeling of how we live in the world. So these case studies were really important to me when I put this book together, because I wanted people to understand that rites and rituals are for everyday living. They're not just what we do when we get married or when we have a baby or when we bless a new house or a new car. That rites and rituals in their real, in their most powerful application are used in our day-to-day lives to deal with the real issues that come up for us.
Right. And I love that. I love taking it seriously. You said something, maybe it was a chapter in your book, and it was called, I think, Power, Intention, Education. Am I getting that right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that just is like the perfect 3 words to go with how you should deal with money. I mean, you should feel empowered. Intention setting is so important. I really want to talk about that, because I think that's, people don't necessarily know what that means all the time. And then education, which is really what this podcast is about. It's about all 3, really. But you talk to us a little about the importance of intention and how to go about setting intentions.
So a real practical example of that might be to have a person pull out your wallet and look at your wallet. Like, look at your wallet from the outside first. Are you carrying the same wallet that you carried for the last 20 years and it's beat up and it's got, frayed edges, or is this something that you went out and purchased for yourself because it was a tool in your life? Like, this is where you're going to center your experience, your regular day-to-day experience with money, is in this wallet. When you pull out your card, or you pull out your dollar bill, or you pull out whatever, your checkbook, if it happens to be folded in there, this tool is a very sacred and important tool to you. It's where you carry what reflects the value of your time. So money is, for me, is a reflection of where I've invested my time. It simply is the exchange for the time I've given in other places. So your wallet is a kind of a money altar all of its own, isn't it? It's a place where you place your cards, place your credit cards, place your debit cards, where you touch in over and over. So your wallet should be something beautiful, something you like the feel of, something you enjoy holding, taking out of your pocket or out of your purse, something that reflects how you feel about your own prosperity and abundance in life. And that is an intentional act to actually choose a wallet as a place to connect with your money is an intentional act. Intention means that this is more than it's more than something we just move through. It's something we actually put our heart and soul into and do with purpose.
Yeah, I love that. And I think with money, a lot of things are sort of rushed and, we're doing them because we have to or whatever. There's not a very positive kind of intentionality around it. It's like, oh, what a drag. I have to go to the bank today and make my car payment or whatever it is. And, I think all of these things, it's very similar. I always equate it to eating. You can eat super fast and barely taste it, or you can make, time to prepare and enjoy food. And it's very similar. And I think it might even sound silly, but there's so much value that you get in being present in the moment or being intentional with your money and not just rushing to get whatever over with.
Absolutely. And it says something to you before it says something to someone else, right? So kind of like your shoes. Like when you choose your shoes in the morning, it's that you choose a pair of shoes that say something to you. You choose shoes for comfort, or you choose shoes for elegance, whatever it is, you choose it because you're choosing what it will say about you, what those shoes will say about you out in the world. Your wallet, your purse, your place that you keep your money says something to you before it says something about you, right? So every time you encounter those items intentionally, and you choose them intentionally, you're choosing an intentional relationship with your money. And I love the idea of dating your money. Like, I want to show up in a good way, right? Yeah. I want to show up like I expect my relationship with money to be. So your intention about how you keep your money, where you keep your money. I know some people are really intentional about stacking their dollars in a certain order, or keeping all their cards in their wallet facing front so that they're easy to sort through, or choosing what they carry in their wallet and what they don't. All of these kinds of things, as simple as they seem, and I want to address the fact that in our society, we generally want to separate the ideas of money and spirituality. We don't want to put those together. But this is a spiritual relationship. How you move through life around your money is a spiritual relationship. And every time you take a step, one more step to be in deeper relationship, you call more of your own heart in, you call more of your own awareness in, and you learn to handle your money and your life in a different way.
Thank you for saying that. I love that. And I do think that's what so much, the reason I wanted this 100th show to be around spirituality and money is because it's really changes the game with how you feel about money, how you interact with it. And if you can look at it that way, if you can tap into it in a different state of mind. And I feel like that's where the rituals and the ceremony around things, it changes your state. Tony Robbins used to have everybody, jumping around and doing all kinds of physical things to change their state, which does change your state. But I feel like this is a much more gentle way, but it is also a state changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have some great examples in your book of people who've been through, some terrible experiences and yet can stop for a minute to, do something ceremonial and the impact it has on them. Do you want to give us maybe an example?
Well, I'd like to give you an example of being in a place of forgiveness around money, which I think is an incredibly important thing to consider. We all have history, whether we recognize it or not. We all have history related to how our family relationship was around money. If we grew up with an idea that there wasn't enough and we struggled and we were taught, don't ask for too much because there's not much available, or, and it's more in lack. Although sometimes we have people who have lots of money and didn't grow up valuing it because it was so abundant and available that they really didn't have to form relationships. Somebody else was going to give it to them. Mm-hmm. So to kind of forgive your past around money, to forgive yourself if you have maybe handled money poorly. We all do, I think, at some point in our life, handle our money maybe less than responsibly. So to start relationship, we have to clear what was there before the relationship began, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're going to have relationship with our money, grow our money, come to appreciate and value our money, then first we have to let go of old ideas around money. Then one of the really simple ways to do that is just to take a piece of paper and write down all of the ways that money has in your life been a problem for you. Like, I didn't have enough when I was a single mom raising my kids, or I made a poor decision, made an investment and lost my money, or I decided to buy the really expensive car instead of the one that I probably should have bought, and I've never quite gotten over it. To write all those things down and to next to each of those incidents or activities, to then write down what you learned right next to it. So I had a tough time raising my kids and having enough money. What I learned was tenacity and resourcefulness. I bought the wrong car. I made a poor investment. I used my money wrongly. What did I learn? I learned more about the value of money, and I got clarity around what I wanted in life. When you take these actions and you begin to see the good that has come out, then you can release any old ideas that you're carrying forward into your financial life. Mm-hmm. And your financial life, like I said, is a sacred life. It reflects your time. It's your greatest commodity. It's not the money that's your greatest commodity. It's the time you have to invest to get there.
Yeah.
So you want to see the value of your time. If you made a poor decision, the value of your time is that you learned something. Then you take that piece of paper once you know what you learned and let go of it. You can throw it away, you can burn it, you can bury it, you can take it out and, do whatever you need to do to let it go. But give yourself a very clear mark in time where you're starting a new relationship with your money, with your financial life, and intentionally let the old ideas go. Because something good came from them. There's no reason to hold on to the bad part of that. Right. All you need to do is garner the wisdom.
I love that. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, your relationship with money is a lifelong relationship. I mean, from the first time you get a little change from, your parent to go to the candy store until your last day, you're in relationship with money. So there are going to be, it's very unrealistic to expect that we're not going to make some mistakes and have some bad periods with money.
Absolutely. I mean, we trade our teeth for money.
That's right.
Right? From a very young age, we're taught that money is something we exchange parts of ourself for, which is a really interesting concept if you think about it.
I've actually never thought about that whole, that really kind of makes me question the whole tooth fairy thing. Is that really a good thing we're doing? Yeah.
But it is if we follow through with our kids and we really teach our kids that tooth grew for a long time. And every time you make an exchange for money, it's the time that you have in your life that you're exchanging.
Huh. Right? I love that.
That's what we get our money for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you started to say something before we even started today about making time for spiritual practices or any kind of a kind of rites and rituals. So can you let people know what you were saying?
Sure, absolutely. So what I hear from people a lot is, I just want my life to feel sacred. I want my life to feel holy. It isn't about necessarily any religion. It's because really, for me, I work in the interfaith world. I don't care what religion you are, but it's really about having some reverence for your life, understanding that it's a holy and powerful experience. And so when I talk to people about rites and rituals, what I hear an awful lot is, my life is so busy, I don't even know how I could possibly find time to incorporate rites and rituals in my life. And I often will work with people on what they do every single day. So an example of that is that you get up every morning and you go in, and whatever your morning routine is, you're going to do your morning routine every single day. You're going to take a shower every single day, and you have the opportunity to stand under the water and to intentionally release and let go of anything that is in the way of your sacred relationship with money. You can let go of anything. You can let go of the argument you had last night. You can let go of a bad idea you have about a friend. You can let go of your frustration with your kids, anything. But there's something physically palpable about the water coming over your head and washing over your body that changes the way you have relationship with letting go. And you can imagine that those old ideas are just running down the drain. And in that space, that by itself is a total ceremony. It doesn't take calling in a divine source and lighting candles and having incense and ringing bells and whatever else. You can do all those things. But ritual is the practice of doing something over and over with practice, with purpose. So you can brush your teeth every day. And as you brush your teeth, instead of thinking random thoughts or trying to figure out what you have to do later in the day or tonight when you get home, use your toothbrush and brush your teeth with the intention that you will prepare your mouth to speak the words that call the abundance and wisdom that you need for your life. Be intentional that your words are going to work for you. You're going to say the right words on the job, the right words with your partner, the right words when you're negotiating the deal on your new car, whatever it is. You can use that process to clear away anything that is in the way and to intentionally, willfully call forth the right words so that you get the outcomes that you want in life. And you can do that with anything that you do. All day long, you do the same thing over and over. If we need to eliminate something from our lives, when we go into the bathroom to eliminate, it's a great time to think about what we're letting go of, right? We're eliminating things we don't need. We dress a certain way. We choose our pair of shoes. We fix our food. We vacuum our floor. We do our laundry. And we do most of that thoughtlessly or in the state of worry. So we have the opportunity to repurpose these things that we do to put intentional consciousness in our lives toward an outcome that is important to us.
Yeah, I love that. So if what I'm hearing is correct, these things that we're doing anyway, that, we're not actually trying to get more time for things. There are things we're doing anyway that mostly within our own minds, we can shift what we're doing during that period, whether it's brushing your teeth or taking a shower or whatever, and use that time to have our own mind ritual, basically.
It's more than mind. One of the reasons that it's powerful to do these things to combine your intention with your action is that you're engaging the whole of your body in what you're doing. So if I'm standing under the shower, I'm thinking a certain thing, I'm feeling something, and I'm emotionally present. And that mind, body, soul kind of combination we know that that's incredibly powerful because it's been used for eons by medicine women and masters to change people's inner dynamic. So when you can combine something physical with the mental intention and let yourself drop into your heart and be present to whatever it is you're doing, actually be in the present moment,
right?
It will shift you. It will change you. It will make you more aware of your life. It will pull you into the right now. Right. And the right now is the only place we can actually make change.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would a suggestion be for people who are, in some kind of a financial struggle, very stressed about money? Every time they get in the shower or brush their teeth or do anything, all they're thinking about is fear around money. Do you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I think fear is an amazing, amazing emotion to explore, because Fear is based in some emotional connection to something. If we're not invested in something, we're not afraid. So when we're dealing with fear, prior to being able to set a ceremonial intention, we first have to really look at what we're afraid could happen. What is it that will happen? I'll lose my house. I'll lose my car. I can't pay for my kids' lunch. Whatever that is, if I don't invest right, my retirement is going away. Those are concepts. They're projections forward versus I'm feeling worried that my children will not have what they need to move through life, right? Like, it's not just I can't pay for my kids' lunch.
Right.
It's I can't be the provider. I'm not the superstar. How will my kids feel about me?
Mm-hmm.
And when I can get down to how will my kids feel about me, then I can go into a ritual, into a ceremonial setting. And a ceremonial setting just means intentionally walking into space, preparing space, and being in that space together. I can call my children in and I can talk with them and say, gosh, you guys, I'm really having some worry that I might not be able to do everything I like to do. And I just want you to understand that we're going to say a little prayer together, and we're in this together. This is you and me doing this together. And you can light a candle and pray in whatever words you want. If you're not a prayer person, prayer is just how we use our words. It isn't about beseeching someone out there. Prayer is about how we settle inside of ourselves. So here I am holding the hands of my children, telling each of them about the gifts they bring in the world and asking them to share with me the gifts that they think I bring into the world. And then be able to say, with all of these things that we have together, I know we can create a beautiful life, can't we? And you can do that with your children, whether they're little bitty kids or they're great big kids, at any point, right? Holding hands, lighting a candle together, and expressing to each other the abundant ways that you come together, the abundant gifts that you bring together, is going to help you to put down the fear of what you don't have for the gratitude of what you do have. And again, it changes how we feel in our body.
Right.
It's the thing that we have to remember is, and maybe I should say this, Michelle, I'm not here to say to you, you're going to magic away your life.
Right.
That's not the objective. The objective is to move you from point A to point B. If point A is discomfort, then we want to move ourselves to comfort so that we can settle ourselves in and take a good, rational next step, right?
Right.
So what these ceremonies do is they change how we're feeling. If you go from a consciousness of lack to a consciousness of gratitude for what you have, you will approach your life differently because you're going to feel different inside. And boy, we put a lot of power into money, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Like that green paper is everything, but it's really not. It's only whatever we make it out to be.
Wow. Yeah, that was beautiful. And a lot to think about there. It's very interesting because you've studied rites and rituals around the world. And do you find globally that's what it's about? Just trying to shift how you feel, essentially?
So I would say that I have worked with master ceremonialists who make miracles. I mean, there are miracles that happen in the world every single day. And they happen through the steps that we take to deepen our relationship in an interconnected world. Whether you see that as interconnection with all people or interconnection with some kind of archetypical form, interconnection with the God of your knowing is what I will often say, that whatever the God of your knowing is. It all begins with a change in our perception. And if you think about it, it's not that hard to understand. Think about a wedding. When we have a wedding, what we're really doing is we're taking two people and we're saying, geez, you're starting out here and you are two separate people. And I'm going to walk you across a ceremonial threshold. And somehow when you get to the other side, you're going to feel like you're one heart. Like, I have brought you together. You have brought you together. To do that, you're going to say words to each other. You're going to exchange a token of your love. You're going to stand in front of witnesses. Could you just look at one another and go, yeah, I take you. You're the guy. I'm marrying you. We're done. Doesn't take a ring. Doesn't take a whole group of people. None of that is necessary to commit your life to someone. But something changes for everybody in that environment because we took these steps. And that's true with every kind of ritual or ceremonial activity that we're engaged in. We figure out where we are and where we want to be, and then we create a threshold between those two things that involves enough steps that we can feel the change occurring inside of ourselves.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And you know, we can create those different rites and rituals ourselves for whatever we need. So it's really trying to figure out where we need these and how
so
to do
yes,
them.
I would say yes, we can create them for ourselves. You mentioned that the chapter that you were looking at around intention also spoke to education. I think that if you really feel a calling and a pull to do ceremonial work, it's valuable to learn more. It's valuable. I have learned from lots of master teachers. I've spent 40 years of my life studying sacred ceremony. Yes, you can create it for yourself. I've been creating sacred ceremony since the very first time I did it. And because it's powerful and life-changing for me, I've invested a lot of time in finding teachers and learning more, reading books, interacting with people, attending ceremonies so that I can see how they feel and how they affect me. Education is a really important step and a valuable step overall in your creating the life that you really want to live.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, you somewhere in there, there's this a mention of rites of passage. And I was thinking of that in relationship to money. And there are so many little rites of passage when it comes to money. You know, your first job, your first house, your first bank account, you know, whatever it is. And I thought, how cool would it be to create some ceremony around each of these? Because we do kind of just have them happen. And sure, we might appreciate them, but, you know, we move on to the next thing. We don't actually create. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so... When we go back to the ceremony of your child's, the first tooth that comes out of their mouth, right?
Yeah.
There's a ceremony that we take them through. This is a rite of passage. This is your first tooth. It's going to go in this special place under your pillow. Sometime when you finally fall asleep, a magical little creature is going to come and it's going to turn into money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is ritual.
It's funny.
We do it over and over with our kids several times in their life.
Right.
What are we teaching them? The thing that is missing is, what is the intention of that action? Are we doing it because we want them to know that it's okay, it's not so scary to have your teeth fall out? You know, like we all have those terrible dreams when we're big people about our teeth falling out, right? So maybe what we're doing it for is to make losing your teeth fun and less scary.
Yeah.
Maybe what we're doing it for is to teach them that there is magic in the world, that there are things that happen that, you know, stay open to the possibility of a miracle.
Right.
Maybe what we're teaching them is what I said earlier, that think about, honey, all the time it took you to grow that tooth. And now you get to trade your time for something different.
Right.
And that's what people who have a job do. They trade their time for something else that they'd like to have in their life. So being intentional about the rituals that we go through. If you give your kid a piggy bank, why? Are you telling them, boy, you better save your money because something might happen. You might need that.
Right.
You never know. Somebody might steal your bike off the front porch. Right?
Right.
Are we teaching them fear around money? Or are we saying, wow, listen to that. Do you hear think about how much time you've given to create this abundance and what kind of good things you can do with this money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Very interesting.
all the way through going to the bank to open a bank account. Why do you want to open a bank account? Well, it's a step into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
step. I really see how much you've grown up and how responsible you are with your money. And I'm so honored to go with you and help you open this first bank account, because it tells me that you're becoming a young adult. And gosh, there's a part of me that's going to miss the kid you've been, but there's a part of me that's so excited for you to have this new place in your life.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I could talk about this all day long. And as it is, I've used up most of our time on this. And I want to segue for a minute because along with what we've been talking about, you do help spiritual people, leaders, teachers, healers, people who do work in the spiritual realm to understand more about money themselves, because there has been this disconnect. If I'm spiritual and I'm working in spiritual areas and I'm serving people, I don't know, money is like secondary to the whole thing. So
well, money is evil.
Maybe that
money
too.
will corrupt the whole spiritual work, right?
Yeah. So I'd love for you to take the what we have left of the show and talk a little about that, because even if that's not your world of work, people have that feeling anyway. And so,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I refer to them as spiritual entrepreneurs. Sometimes you'll see in the media the word soulpreneur. Mm-hmm. They're people who are holistic healers, spiritual leaders, people who are they could be your Tai Chi instructor, your yoga instructor. They're people who are actually engaged in spiritual work, and this is how they provide for themselves. So what happens for a lot of us in those fields is that we feel an inner calling, like, I don't know why I need to do this, but I don't know one yoga teacher who's making a lot of money, but I need to be a yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times what happens is that people get the calling in, the feeling that they need to take their spiritual gifts into the world of their business. And a lot of times that's to create a sense of wholeness too. Like they're integrating who they really are in all the aspects of their life. So people don't recognize that is a $450 billion a year industry, and growing is expected to double by 2030.
Wow.
It's a growing industry. And so when you come into this industry, whether you're a yoga teacher or a spiritual leader or a speaker on a spiritual topic, or what it is that you do, being able to think through the lens of financial health is as important as thinking through the lens of the spiritual health of the work that you do. Being able to think about the very practical ways that you create a successful business, because listen up, folks, if you're not making enough money, you don't get to do your good work in the world. Mm-hmm. You are out. Yeah. Pretty soon you're back at wherever you were trying to, pull your dollars back together. So one of the great privileges that I have in the world is to coach and run a business mastermind for spiritual entrepreneurs who are looking to be successful enough that they can sustain their life and live in ease and keep themselves in the balanced place they need to be to do the good work they were called in to do. Right.
Oh, I love that. And how do you find that the mastermind helps them? I'm part of a mastermind. I personally love masterminding. Mm-hmm. But how is that changing things for them?
So I run a mastermind that's a little bit different than a lot of other traditional masterminds. I run a mastermind twice a month. And in the first half of the month, in the first gathering, I'll actually teach a class. I might teach a class on using a budget. How do you use a budget? Or I might teach a class on finding the right kind of volunteers, or how you walk through in a business-oriented way, how you walk through onboarding the support you need in your business, your VA or your administration team, or your whoever is building your website, or any of those people. And then in the second part of the mastermind, when we gather again, we'll look at that topic through the lens of your business. Let's talk about what you're doing, about how you use a budget. Do you have a budget? Do you know where do you find the documents and the programs to develop a budget? What do you have to budget that's different than anybody else? How do you actually figure out what should even be on your budget? And how do you then both use your budget successfully and also, again, make your budget part of your spiritual journey through service to the world? So there's a lot of, the nice thing about a mastermind is that people share their ideas. So you're not just hearing from me, you're hearing from other people who have their concepts in place, their constructs in place, and who have a lot of the same challenges that you have. So they have, a lot of times you can take giant leaps forward because somebody else has a solution that has not come to you. You haven't had to earn your way to yet.
Right. Oh, love that. And what do you see? Can you give us an example of a change for someone who was struggling?
Yeah, I think the biggest change that I see in people in our mastermind is a sense that there's a kind of foundation to the work they do. What I really see is people come down into the physicality of running a business. And I say that because a lot of times people who are spiritually oriented are very up in their heart and in their head. Mm-hmm. How they talk, where they live from, what they express is kind of up in here. And when you know that you're in control of your business, you find power within your body. You find a settled, your back gets straighter. You feel like the business that you have has grounding and that it's respectable business. A lot of times we have a hard time, spiritual people have a hard time thinking of business as part of what they do every day. But once they find their feet on the ground in it and their life feels sustained, they can do even more in an even bigger way. And I see people really come into themselves, really flower and blossom in their business once they have the little things that get in the way taken care of.
Yeah, I love that. And it comes back down to some of that education that they haven't received because they've been busy, honing some craft of one form or another. And it's so interesting when those things merge. The service that they provide will always be the most important thing. It will just be supported by a new knowledge and new behaviors, and that's going to make it work ultimately.
And it's really a very unique field to work in, because when you are running a business, you're usually motivated by selling a product and whatever your profit margin on that product can be.
Right.
And this is a very different thing. People who would qualify or consider themselves soulpreneurs or spiritual entrepreneurs are not motivated by the profit.
Yeah.
The profit is secondary to the calling that they feel to do the work that they do. So to have someone who really understands the calling facilitate that business mastermind with an understanding, and to show the value of the foundational practices in business to meeting the calling, that's not something that just everybody can do.
Right. Well, thank you. That's amazing work as well. And do you use rituals in your program at all?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So can you tell people, Ariana, how they can get in touch with you, how they can learn more about the mastermind, buy your book?
Absolutely. You can go to www.asoulfulworld.com. And that is soulful, like having your soul full, Full. You'll find everything there. And really, if you can just remember Ariana Platten, if you Google me, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on my website. I do a lot of blogging and writing. I write for a international column on a website called Pathos. So you can find me. I'm really, really easy. Just look at the spelling of my name and go Google me, and you can find me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I love this. I love the idea that we're having a bit of a rite of passage right now, because you're celebrating here with me this 100th show, and it's time to, take it to a new place and a next level. And so I see that as a bit of a rite of passage myself. And I'm going to figure out what kind of little ceremony I can do this evening. And thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. I like the idea that money is a support and an ally in your life, and something that isn't troubling, and something that, is combative in your life and stressful and fear-based and on all of that. And I feel like just hearing your voice, you've got a very lovely, calming voice, and hearing what you're talking about it gives me hope that people will be able to sort of settle into that centered space to deal with their money, which I think better decisions are made in that place.
Well, congratulations. 100 years is a big deal.
Well, 100
It's a really
shows, not
big
100
deal.
years. I'm not quite there yet.
Sorry, 100 years, 100 episodes, not 100.
Thank you.
Not 100 years.
100 years
Yeah.
is coming,
You
but
look
I'm
really
not sure I'll
good for your
celebrate.
age.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable, and you've got all kinds of things going on, and I really appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure.
Okay. Well, take care. And audience, please check out Dr. Ariana Platen's book. I'm really enjoying it, and it is on Audible, which a lot of people ask these days if they can listen versus read. And but I actually think it's one that you want to have as a written copy as well. But so think about what you can do to enjoy some more rituals in your life, and maybe use them in some way to really give yourself a bigger sense of empowerment over your life and your money, and particularly your relationship with money. And I hope you'll continue to listen to the show, share it. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're on Roku. We're on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. We love having you listen to the show. We're continuing to bring wonderful shows to you, and you can help us do that by sharing the show with your friends and giving us a like or a review or whatever you can do. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.